Actually, OpenAI is working with many companies around the world. The problem is that a lot of it is kept in a black box. At the end of the day, OpenAI it's a private company, and as much as you deal with them, they will keep some things close to their chest. So that's why many banks, etc., they have banned completely the use of ChatGPT because they don't fully know what the data will be used for, even if they say that, of course, is secure, etc.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the High Conviction Podcast, where we feature ambitious visionaries who see things differently and take big bets. Lorenza, hi. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, Oliver. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's sunny in New York and looking forward to our podcast.
Yeah, likewise. So I'd love to know a little bit more about your background and what are you working on?
Sure, thank you. I've been working in tech for over 12 years in the likes of Google, The Economist, and from those companies, I learned really how to scale a product globally and how to really impact communities around you and even in India and in any country of the world with the help of engineering, with the help of research and the different stakeholders around the companies. That really taught me how to build a business. And this is my second business. I have a designer online marketplace, and I'm focusing right now on AI governance, security, and compliance, which is really different from, let's say, the other products that I built, which were mostly B2C. This is fully B2B, but it's very much a growing market and lots of opportunity there.
Yeah, I agree. AI governance is a hot topic right now. Are there any specific regulatory frameworks that you're addressing? And if so, what are the current gaps in the market?
Sure. We're focusing on helping companies that are heavily regulated. We're talking banks, insurance, healthcare. They hold a large database of sensitive data, such as patient records, financial statements, etc., etc. And they cannot simply just use Gen AI tools like you and me do. They really have to keep this data in a secure environment. And not only that, but if they were to misuse it or the AI that they build becomes biased, etc., could really impact the people within this institution, but also the data becomes vulnerable to attacks. So what we're doing in helping them is we help them with any regulation where they're present. So it could be any US state law, or it could be the EU or Singapore and many other. And we help them set up those guardrails for the AI to comply to the rules, but also we sanitize the data. We remove all the sensitive information from millions of documents or directly from the database. We remove that before it even reaches the internal AI, just out of security. We also offer, of course, space at third-party cloud-based connection, but regardless, we're always monitoring for any issues that may
That makes a lot of sense. I come from the capital markets as well. And even as a vendor, you have to keep copies of data for anyone that you work with for 6 years. So I know it can be quite burdensome if you're not aware of that. Out of curiosity, what prevents, an open AI enterprise license from delivering the same value that you would with secure AIs?
Yeah, exactly. So actually, OpenAI is working with many companies around the world. The problem is that a lot of it is kept in a black box. At the end of the day, OpenAI it's a private company, and as much as you deal with them, they will keep some things close to their chest. So that's why many banks, etc., they have banned completely the use of ChatGPT because they don't fully know what the data will be used for, even if they say that, of course, is secure, etc. You can never be too sure unless it's fully on your stack. So yeah, some companies are happy to work with these large providers, but we see that the future really is to have full control of all your data.
That's interesting. So, for example, a larger enterprise like JPM would and might work with OpenAI, who would build them a custom governance solution. But for the smaller players in the market, mid market and below, they probably wouldn't be able to even earn the attention of someone like OpenAI to make sure that they're well covered and have all of their questions answered. Is that the right understanding?
Yeah, well, actually, JP Morgan has their own LLM suite, and they did it without OpenAI. It's completely built in-house on premise, and I had a chance to look at it. And right now, of course, is not as fast as ChatGPT, but they have built it in a way that it's good enough for the employees. It creates decks. In the future, we'll probably make calculations, etc. But yeah, we're seeing even the large banks are taking the approach of building it themselves, while we're there to take that same approach, but for smaller companies that don't have the budget or the expertise as JP Morgan does. Yeah.
That's interesting. And I would imagine that for regulatory and compliance as a service companies like Vanta and Drata, you're just making that so much easier to work with. So if there is ever an audit, right, of any sort, you just give them the governance reports that they need to see.
Exactly. So actually, we collaborate with Banta as well. They help keeping the data compliant. And then what we do is the data parsing sanitation, and we do the country regulations while they do GDPR and HIPAA. They're not yet looking at the ethical side of the AI usage. So we're focusing on, yeah, we offer also HIPAA and GDPR, but we also specialize in making sure that the AI behaves in a way that's not going to harm any human that interacts with. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I know, at least on the technology side of things, observability, evaluations, and governance is a huge deal right now. So a lot of the bigger players are bringing more of that into their tech stack. But it sounds like you're a little bit different because you're selling more into business and compliance teams. What made you decide that that was the right approach and the right bet to take?
Yes, yes, of course. So we see a lot of opportunity in the different verticals. It's a huge market, about 52 billion by 2030. And we see, of course, you have the AI risk and compliance software B2B development. That's about 20 billion. Sorry, we have also legal tech for lawyers, etc., that don't need such a sophisticated offering like, let's say, IBM Watson, but they need something just to be able to build contracts faster, very straightforward. And of course, the 20 billion AI productivity market, which is more around how do you increase productivity as an individual, but also as a collective and as a team within your business. So we're really looking at these three verticals, not only risk and compliance, but also we're making sure that we bring tools in that are going to increase productivity. So, for example, we allow the person with the right, obviously, admin setting to use the platform. It's a very easy to use to upload as many files as they want. So it could be as a lawyer within a company, or it could be actually a product manager trying to understand research. And they can also use that data to integrate all the third-party tools that they may be using to increase their productivity and come up with insights faster. So really, we provide the full scope from security, ethical to productivity and team collaboration.
I see. So it sounds like specifically is that there will be a lot of people who will never build their own tech stack and will still want to make use of agents. And for those people, you're solving for that prosumer pain point where they might have, for example, Google Drive to handle most of their sensitive data, but that transaction layer is going to be increasingly important. And that's where the value is.
Yes, yeah. We see these working for the everyday individuals protecting their data at any point before using any third-party model on the browser or, of course, internally in the company systems.
Yeah, that's so interesting. There's a lot of talk about verticalized solutions. So, for example, I'm thinking about SMBs in the capital markets, registered investment advisors, right? And I'd imagine that there's quite a few folks selling agentic solutions into them. What makes you different from something like that? Someone who's very targeted and offers all of the compliance in a box. It seems you're taking a more horizontal approach.
Yes, actually, we're instead of doing it so vertically, we integrate. We can integrate those agents that specialize in certain areas, and we can add them as part of the wider visibility monitoring solution that we're offering. So we're not telling you, oh, you should stop using third-party AI agents that specialize in finance, but you can use it, but make sure that it's integrated with our platform so we can scan for any potential bias, for any potential issue on the compliance side. So yeah, of course, there's many independent vertical players out there, but we're just that extra layer of protection that you can have before you interact with that agent or during and during the whole cycle.
That's interesting. What made you decide that this was the right problem to solve and to solve it in this way? It sounds like you're betting that you are able to disintermediate a lot of the agentic providers.
Yes. So yeah, I wanted to look at it from a holistic point of view. I wanted to, one thing that's not going to change in 10 years' time. Yes, you'll have the solo entrepreneur with millions of agents working for the solo entrepreneur. But I think as a human, we like to work in teams. We will always seek community. And this is something that's not going to change for the next 10 years. We always will have teams. There are big companies, always, perhaps a mix between AI agents and humans. But regardless, within the company, you do want to have overall visibility of where your data is, what's being used, how it's being used. And that's why we took the holistic approach to just have a place to be able to have that visibility. Because yeah, we're great. Vertical agents are huge billion-dollar businesses, but at the end of the day, you're not gonna within the company, even if you use, let's say, a legal AI agent, you will still need that AI agent to talk to other humans. You will still need it to be part of a collective mix. So that's why we're there, to make sure that agent doesn't go crazy and that it still complies with everything and doesn't do damage internally or externally. So yeah, that's why we thought we need a place to put it all together.
It definitely makes sense from the consumer perspective, where at the end of the day, if it's just another layer of checks, why not? And if it's at the right price point, all the better. From the perspective of these vertical agent providers, I mean, do they have an incentive to just sign up with you so they don't have to worry about the compliance aspect?
Yes, yes. And the cool thing about our offering is that for example, we've been working with some healthcare institutions that would like to share some of the data, the sensitive data, to people solving problems for these patients to AI, but they don't want to share the data. Again, because of the sanitation problem. So we work with these healthcare institutions, clean up the data, and then suddenly they can open up this clean data, so to say, to so many other builders out there. And so we do work with the institution, the builder, to be able to receive the data in a clean way so that they can build the model on top. And then we work with the different agentic vertical propositions so that they can offer that as well to their clients. Before them sharing any data, we do the sanitation, and then they offer the rest of the offering.
Yeah, that's interesting. You seem to have picked out a very interesting place in the value chain. And I'm curious, it seems like with a lot of other industries, there's a huge toss up on which layer of a tech stack or service stack is going to eat the others. What makes this specific layer defensible from your perspective?
Yes. So right now, most of people are using RAG for the AI models, but we sit just between the data and the RAG. So the data will always have its own little house, right? So either it would be on a secure cloud, or it would be, the companies will have their own data centers to store it. Regardless, we really see it on top of the data and any other option that they might want to go for, either RAG or anything else that eventually may eat the RAG. Some people say RAG is dead, but regardless, we just see it on top of the data.
I see. Are there any signals that you've seen that really suggest that you're on the right track?
Yes, yes, and actually it took a while to get there. Initially, we were offering the platform as a whole with all the different features, etc., and that was taking much longer than we wanted. So we actually started offering the different features separately, right? So the data sanitation, we can sell it separately. They can use it straight into their system without having to uh, sign up for the whole flight. We Same thing with the governance. We can offer data sanitation and governance without the platform. Or some people will want to have just the monitoring and the compliance process of the models they build somewhere else. So we see that despite we have it all under a platform, we see that some businesses may just not want to use the whole thing, and that actually has accelerated our growth. And yeah, so we're happy, very happy to have done that.
I love it. It sounds like you took out a lot of the less valuable propositions and sharpened the message. And how has your positioning changed with that shift?
Well, we're onboarding more clients. That's the biggest. We're getting people through the funnel much faster. We can also, again, we open up to verticals, right? Instead of just offering a compliance platform, we're now doing data sanitation for legal teams, for healthcare institutions, for builders. So we open up, that help us offer our services to many more companies than just the ones that were concerned with the compliance monitoring. So yeah, that has really helped us on the client side. And yeah, pretty much that's how what we're seeing so far.
That's interesting. This seems like such a rich space. Who are your biggest competitors and how are you different than them? What's your unfair advantage?
Yes. So again, I think what's happening with a lot of B2B players is the same issue that I was encountering. They're offering full-on solutions, platforms, etc. Very much the old SaaS model. And so I'm seeing a lot of competitors doing that. Of course, they may be have big names. They may be around for a while, but we're seeing that. I think that's probably not the model that will will help them grow as quickly as let's say a smaller player. So in terms of who are our competitors, still. If one day OpenAI decides to fully be instead of black box very transparent player, they could obviously have a big advantage because they could offer everything. And now we do see that they're very general. They're never going to go so deep into each practice and vertical. So I think it works pretty well just at the layer level. We do see some other players on the data side. We see some other players on the monitor and risk and ethical. So they're all scattered a bit.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I know that some enterprises are holding out in terms of adoption, even banning the use of a lot of these tools. But a lot of other companies just don't have a policy, which is quietly saying, hey guys, do whatever you want. It's not our problem. What are these companies, the ones who are doing the latter, doing right or wrong from your perspective?
Yes. So obviously, I think that applies to smaller to medium-sized companies, perhaps that are not at the risk of being in the spotlight like the big ones that serve a lot of millions of people and billions. So what the advantage is obviously that they're scaling really fast, right? Like Lovable. I'm going to give you an example. Or Cursor. They're doing millions and millions in revenue within just a small amount of months, while other companies took years to get there. So what's happening? Obviously, they're using all the different AI tools out there to provide a value very quickly. And they're growing very quickly. But again, there is not much transparency of what's happening to the data. People are being very careless on, they're just they are consenting perhaps, but what are they consenting to? I'm going to give you an example. I was a user of 23andMe, uh, it's similar to ancestry.com. Uh, and I gave my sample, my saliva. I sent my saliva. They told me all my ancestry was really cool. I found out a lot of cool things. And then they filed for bankruptcy. Then pretty much once they file for bankruptcy, everything's up for sale. The data is up for sale. If you don't tell them to delete your data, literally my data, etc., because with the saliva you can find out diseases, you can many other things. If I hadn't asked to delete my data right after when they filed for bankruptcy, I don't know where the data would be right now. And this is happening not only in the healthcare sector, but also with these companies, right? Very quickly, many of these companies can disappear, file for bankruptcy, and your data is up for grabs. So I think that's the biggest challenges. Yes, they're growing really fast. Yes, they are taking full advantage of this, but yet you don't know whether your data is safe. So that's we see advantages from that perspective to be able to use that data to grow. But I think in the future, it's all not going to be so pretty. That's for sure.
I could definitely see that. So I'm imagining a 100-person company, they know their employees are using ChatGPT, but when it comes to a build or buy decision, right, the cost is just too high. So you come in and say, look, I'll give you a clean room and an interface and sanitize everything for you,
Mhm.
which seems to me as a no-brainer approach, right? Of course, I'm your champion. What do the holdouts say? Why are they resistant to what you're offering?
You mean current clients or like future clients?
Maybe future clients
Uh-huh.
haven't come around to see the world in the same way that you do.
Yes, of course. I mean, a lot of companies that we talk to, they're taking a very slow approach. They're taking their time. They want to see what happens next year with the AI regulations and other ones to see how serious that will be. They're just taking it very slow and they rather not adopt AI at all and to wait than they get in trouble. So that's where I see the most of let's say blockage I'm seeing it. And there, it's happening in conservative spaces, right? Like legal, especially where, you're handling such a sensitive cases, right? Because I could suggest you a different law that may potentially put your client into jail, or you might say the wrong thing that could make you lose your case. So that's why they're just taking the time. They're not yeah, they might use it to improve some of the efficiency, but it will never, for now, we don't see the AI replacing a lawyer fully in the current state of the legal firms. Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, it's the typical bias for status quo where there's probably very low chance of enforcement. So why not just wait and see until a winner emerges? And it seems like your ideal client would be someone who's a little bit more proactive. What makes you convinced that you are the right solution versus, a potential regulator completely misunderstanding AI and passing regulation that, may or may not jeopardize your current line of business?
Sure. So the approach we like to take is very much from a consultative approach. Despite that, of course, many of the features we can offer to several companies. We really going and understand what are your pain points. Everybody has a different stack. They might want to go on premise. They might, so we really don't say, oh, this is the solution, buy it, take it or leave it. No, we really sit down and understand what the business is currently looking like, who should have access, who should not have access. So pretty much, yeah, we just take care of the client in a way that larger businesses might not be able to. So I think that right now it's what differentiates us, because we know we're handling lots of sensitive data. So we won't do anything without the guidance and permission of the client. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any potential blind spots, whether yours or your clients, that keep you up at night that really concern you?
Well, yeah, there's obviously the ethical side of AI that worries me. I'm worried that in the future, children born in the age of AI, they will forget how to synthesize data on their own, and same as employees, right? To which point will you delegate to the AI, right? You can do very specific things, but at some point I think people are using AI for creativity, which in a way that's it, to which point are you being influenced by AI and not the other way around? And I think that happened with the internet. Before, people used to say, back in the day, people used to use the internet as an escape, and now it's the other way around. You use the real world to escape the internet. And it may happen with AI the same way. Right now, we just know it's a fun tool, so fun. And then in the future, we might be so immersed in the world of AI that, again, just to be back to our human center, we might have to start going back to, oh, let's write a novel without the need of AI. Let's create a drawing or a painting or a film from the beginning without the need of AI. Same thing. Let's make some calculations without the help of AI. I think at some point, yeah, it could get quite overwhelming. But it's no doubt this is where we're going. So we just need to be very careful how we use the AI.
That's very interesting. So it sounds like what you're saying is that today's clean room is mostly an archiving function where we do the thinking and we drop it into a clean room, even if it's a communication. But as AI does more and more of its thinking, right? It might create some risks, let's say, with who and what owns a black box. Is that right?
Exactly. Exactly. And they say already, people who are going to jump on the AI wagon, be able to use tools, AIs, and build AIs are going to differentially be way ahead of people that are just the users. So there's going to be a big divide socially, mentally, probably as well. So yeah, that's what we need to be careful of.
Are there any sources of information or perspectives that you just choose to ignore and filter out that's totally irrelevant to where you're thinking and where you're headed?
Source information. I think people should be also aware of using TikTok trends, cool AI, cool tools. That's where your data is going to be leaked. Just don't, use us before you send the data. Just don't go and add your data to just a really cool tool that does X, Y, Z, because again, you don't know where it's going to end. So don't follow TikTok trends necessarily with all the random no pains that are coming out. So just be careful.
I love that. Lorenza, my last question. What questions should I have asked you that we haven't discussed yet?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think you've asked pretty good questions. So I think we're covered. I have to think about that one.
Love it. Maybe a follow-up, right?
Yes.
Well, Lorenza, thank you for taking the time. I would love to follow along on your journey, and I'm sure others would as well. Where should we find you, and how can we follow along Secure AI's journey?
Yes, so visit us at www.secureais.com or email us at contact@secureais.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Lorenza Binkele, and we're very happy to work with you, to have a discussion, to have ethical debates, whatever you want. And yeah, looking forward to meeting many of your listeners.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you.